Good afternoon and welcome to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, and right now everything changes. We're coming to you live across multiple platforms, YouTube, Rumble, and X, where millions are tuning in right now to witness what might be the most consequential night in American history, and you are here for it. Now, as you're watching this, you are one of the few Americans who still cares about the truth. And right now, we've got a lot of it to share, but first, a word about why we're here. This is not just another news show. This is a movement, and you're part of it. Right now, it is day 11 of Donald Trump's historic return to the White House, and the deep state's in absolute panic mode. What's happening right now in Washington makes Watergate look like a parking ticket. Tonight's stories are so explosive, so controversial, the mainstream media won't touch them, but we will, because that's what we do here. Breaking just hours ago, a catastrophic midair collision in our nation's capital has left dozens dead, including members of the U.S. figure skating team. The questions surrounding the tragedy are disturbing, to say the least, but that is just the beginning. President Trump's immigration crackdown continues to send shockwaves through sanctuary cities. ICE raids are happening as we speak. The left is melting down, and we have the footage to prove it. Then Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard, two confirmation hearings underway that have exposed the deep state like never before. We'll show you exactly what they don't want you to see. And if that is not enough, Meta just surrendered to Donald Trump, writing a big fat check for $25 million. Meanwhile, JFK Jr. is on day 2, taking on the establishment, and the footage we have will leave you speechless. Now, here's what makes the Raw Feed different. You're not just watching, you are participating. And throughout the show, we'll be featuring your super chats and your Rumble rants right here on the screen. Remember, your voice matters, and we want to hear it. And speaking of which, hit that share button right now and text this stream to everyone you know. Why? Because big text algorithms are trying to bury us, but they can't stop direct sharing. That's how we win, folks. And for our supporters who want to go above and beyond, we have our channel memberships with exclusive perks. You'll get acknowledgement in the chat and behind-the-scenes access to the Next News Network team. The link is in the description, or just tap join below the window. And speaking of exclusives, have you seen our MAGA Avengers collection at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com? It is limited edition merch that lets everyone know where you stand in the fight for truth. But here's the reality. We can't keep doing this without your support. The links to donate are in the description. Every dollar helps us continue bringing you the stories they don't want you to hear. So buckle up, Patriots. Your super chats get priority between segments, and we've got a lot to cover. So share the stream, join the fight, and get ready for the most explosive edition of Raw Feed yet. So let's dive in and welcome you to the show. JT Baying and Barbara and Running Bear all here. We've got Barbara. We've got Tim. We got Ruby Sue, who has just become a member. What's up, Ruby Sue? Welcome to the club. Heather Peterson, Peace Johnson, Ed and Jerome, Poose, and Dave Wallenberg, Running Bear. The gang is all here. Good to see everybody on this early edition of the Raw Feed. We are early right now. Kit Kat Meow is here. Dave Wallenberg. We've got a special live stream we are going to do later today. So you want to be there for that. Rod Blagojevich is giving a special talk alongside Cash Kelly and others at the Drake Oakbrook, Illinois. I'm going to be there. I'm going to bring my gear, and we're going to stream it live for you guys. At least we're going to try. Okay? This will be like one of the first time we try to stream in a remote capacity, so keep your fingers crossed. But we do have it scheduled for 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. You do not want to miss it. There are going to be revelations that Rod Blagojevich is going to disclose that in his conversations with Trump, and how Rod Blagojevich is going to be used in this administration. As you know, Rod Blagojevich was an Illinois governor. He was wrongfully incarcerated by the Obama administration and by the crooks in that government. And now Donald Trump, he's commuted his sentence. He is out, and he is speaking, and he is an asset to the GOP and the America First agenda. Of course, he's a Democrat. We don't agree on all things, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that we can find common ground, and we can move forward to defeat the deep state enemies and the actors who attempted to take down Donald Trump and were unfortunately successful in destroying Rod Blagojevich's life. But we did have a good thing. Donald Trump came in, commuted the sentence. Now Rod is out, and he's on our side. And that's what matters, folks. So we got a lot of news to get to tonight. Let's jump into our first topic. Yes, it is in. Here we go. Have you noticed something different about America's sanctuary cities today? they're a little quieter than usual. That's because for the first time in decades, immigration laws are actually being enforced. President Trump's ICE raids are not just making headlines, they are making history. Within hours of being apprehended, illegal migrants who have lived here for decades are being deported. No paperwork, no delays, no excuses. The left's calling it cruel, but we simply call it law enforcement. In California, a man who lived illegally for 24 years, he was sent back to Mexico in just 4 hours. The message? Well, the free ride's over. But there is much more to this story, much more. And you know what terrifies the establishment more than Trump's immigration enforcement? Gold. That's right, gold. While sanctuary cities are losing their grip on power, countries like China are stockpiling precious metals. Why? Because they know what's coming. The dollar's dominance is under threat, and smart money is moving to gold, just like Trump is securing our borders. So you need to secure your financial future with Noble Gold Investments. They understand this. They've been helping patriots protect their retirement with gold IRAs for years. The link's in the description, nextnewsgold.com. Click it or simply call 877-646-5347. That's the number on the screen. Don't wait until it's too late. Now, we've got a lot to get to in these ICE raids, but I do have this beautiful moment that came up in the feeds. And, I mean, this is like the Donald Trump playing tennis. Joe Biden could have never have done this, and he is actually playing tennis with Serena Williams in a suit. Watch this. Here it is, the moment. He's barefoot. Takes his shoes off. Look at this. What is up? Look at that. President Trump playing tennis. Yeah, he's beating that tennis ball like Kamala Harris. Oh, right into the net. Right into the net. Come on, you got another one there. Come on, let's see what you got. Oh, there it is. Oh, my goodness. How crazy is this? I've never seen anything like it. Unreal. President Trump right there playing tennis. Yeah, he's beating those tennis balls just like he is beating the illegals out of this country. Okay, and speaking of out of the country, we got this. Elon Musk calling it a very fair and generous deal. Did you hear about this? Paid vacation. Agreed to leave the civil service and you get an 8-month paid vacation. How many federal workers will accept the deal? Worth noting that the 8-month severance offer through the end of government fiscal year is the most that is legally allowed without Congress passing another appropriations bill. Now, if you're not aware of what I'm talking about, Doge, Donald Trump, they're cutting the fat in government, and they said, listen, we got to get these freeloaders out of here, the people who are not showing up to work, these quote-unquote telework government employees. And they said, here, just reply to this email and say resign, and you can simply just walk away. You get 8 months' pay, and you're good to go. Well, you know, Tim Kaine, the other day, he was complaining about it on the Senate floor, saying, oh, Donald Trump's never going to pay you because he has a history of not paying. Well, that's just a lie. Okay, these are government contractors, government employees. They're going to get their paycheck. All they got to do is reply and hit resign. And the loophole that we see here, Elon Musk noting, okay, this is the most that is legally allowed without Congress passing another appropriations bill. So they took it right up to the line without having to go back to Congress to deal with it. Also, another headline here, Trump does the unthinkable. He is now officially calling for the end of the income tax and maybe the very first president of the United States in history to do so. We are excited about that. This is a big deal. And Google Maps, did you hear about this? Speaking of the immigration, Google Maps is now going to be recognizing the Gulf of America for users in the United States. However, for users in Mexico, they're going to see the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, Google couldn't just go the distance, right? No, they have to, try to appease every single demographic. All other international users will see both names. Wall Street Mav says these changes will not take effect until the government updates those site listings in the Geographic Names Information System, an official database that includes descriptions and location information for millions of places within the U.S. As of Tuesday morning, the Gulf of Mexico and Denali still appear as such in the directory. Here's the headline. It looks like CBS News. Google Maps users in U.S. will see Gulf of Mexico renamed to Gulf of America and Denali changed to Mount McKinley. McKinley was changed to Denali during the Obama administration. Another woke move by that administration. Here's a pretty funny meme someone made. Google says it will change Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America in maps after government updates. It should be the Aussie Gamer says this should be Gulf of America for everyone. America should see Gulf of America, not golf. Golf? Golf? Gulf? Maybe they need to learn how to spell. So CNS News also reporting Google will follow suit in Gulf of America. Name change once maps become official. Representative Nancy Mace putting this out on her X account with a hypothetical visualization of what the Google map would look like. Gulf of America, baby. Yes, we are on point. And speaking of big tech, here it is, Meta, to pay President Trump $25 million to resolve a lawsuit resulting from the company suspending his accounts. Meta has to pay Trump $25 million. I wonder if that's what Zuckerberg went down there to resolve. Remember when he went down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring? And now he's a big old Trump supporter? Well, now he's got to pay $25 million. He was a big investor, or a big donor, I should say, in the inauguration fund. I believe Meta, or maybe it was Zuckerberg, donated $1 million. Well, here's another 25 for you, Donald. And maybe it's going to go to Donald Trump personally because his personal accounts were affected. Libs of TikTok also reporting this. $25 million to settle a lawsuit that he filed after they suspended his account. And I'm not sure if this was taken because if it was an out-of-court settlement or not. And then we have this. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem announces that grant funding to NGOs facilitating the invasion of America has now officially been stopped. We reported on the Catholic Charities that group that masquerades as a Christian group, but they're clearly ignoring the sovereignty and the jurisdiction of the United States by facilitating and aiding and abetting in illegal actions from illegals coming across the country. Well, now Kristi Noem is officially giving us information that has all been stopped. Let's listen.
That we're actually.
So now let's turn back to the border quickly. Now joining me is the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who has an exclusive announcement on more action her department is taking. Secretary, thanks for being with us here today. I understand you have something to share with us that we haven't heard yet about what you're going to be doing at DHS.
Yes, well, thank you, Will, for inviting me to be with you. Today, we are announcing that we have stopped all grant funding that's being abused by NGOs to facilitate illegal immigration into this country. So it's amazing to me the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been spent by the federal government that has been sent to NGOs to facilitate this invasion of our country. So I've taken action to stop those funds, to reevaluate them, and to make sure that we're actually using the taxpayer dollars in a way that strengthens this country, that keeps us safe. So I think people are curious when we look at grants that are given out by federal agencies at how they're utilized, and that evaluation needs to be done. We're not spending another dime to help the destruction of this country. We're going to make sure that we follow through on what President Trump has promised, and that's to make sure that we're securing our border, departing those who are here illegally, and committing criminal actions, and that our taxpayer dollars aren't spent to help it.
Thank you, Kristi Noem, for taking care of business with President Trump, executing the action. And the NGOs, Ryan Jacobson writes here, you can't see it, but he writes, NGOs need to be investigated, subpoenaed, and prosecuted along with any government officials they were working with. He goes on to write, I'm going to assume most of the NGOs were being facilitated by Democrats, but any Republicans involved should also be held accountable. So that's some big news right there out the gate. We've got some more news on the ICE raids continuing. Here it is. Carolyn Leavitt took another soul on live TV, and she's like the fake news Grim Reaper, says George Beasy. Let's listen.
We know that employees.
But is there any concern that we risk losing people with years of experience like doctors and let's say scientists?
Well, most doctors who work in actual hospitals and medical institutions have to show up to the office. We know that employees are more productive and more efficient when they are working in an in-office environment, and that's what this administration expects, and I think that's what American taxpayers expect. Don't forget, it's the American people who are funding this government, and they deserve people who are actually showing up to work on their behalf.
And, of course, that's in reference to the email that Elon Musk and Donald Trump sent out, asking them to simply reply with resign. But, yeah, this guy is totally clueless. Michael Strahan has no idea. What about the doctors? Are you worried about people who have institutional knowledge?
But is there any concern that we risk losing people with years of experience like doctors and let's say scientists?
Doctors and scientists. Yeah, she just put that guy to bed. Okay, they actually show up to work. And then we have Democrat Senator Mark Kelly accusing Trump administration of using ICE raids as a photo op. Really? Are you going to play that game, buddy? Because that's what you guys do. You guys use every one of these ICE raids as a photo op for your agenda, and you manipulate the truth, and you come out and say Donald Trump's an authoritarian, and he doesn't care about families, and da-da-da-da-da. No, he cares about the law. You guys don't. You guys are just looking for votes. So don't play me, Mark Kelly. And we also have this. This is from Forever Alive, replying to Representative Clyde. Okay. He says, Gainesville is a prime target for extensive ICE raids. It's ground zero for illegal aliens and may possibly be the single largest concentration of illegals in your district. That city is 35 miles from where I live, sir. I would welcome ICE into that area. Here we have another story. Ohio elementary school goes into lockdown due to ICE activity. Now, there was a story just like this. It took place in Chicago, and the mainstream media ran with it. They manipulated the truth, and it went nationwide. They claimed ICE was raiding a elementary school in Chicago, when in fact it was U.S. Marshals or it was the Secret Service looking for an actual threat. It wasn't ICE. Online Free USA says rumored planned ICE raids as good as real raids to Mahdi sanctuary places into jails for migrants. So we don't know the full facts of this. I'm assuming this is either fake news or it's true, because it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter because they can go to schools. Schools and churches are not off limits, okay? And let's say you got some illegal teachers in there, and they are working. Well, you got to go get them, right? If they're not at their house, you got to go to their place of business. So it's that simple. Carol Ruth writes, you know who it's illegal migration the most? American immigrants who spent their time and money going through the immigration process legally. That's true. Yeah, there's a lot of people that go through the process legally, and they spend a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of tears and late nights filling out paperwork so that they can get their citizenship. And then people just cut the line. Democrats never talk about those legal immigrants, ever. Here we have Tucker Carlson, 19 hours ago, explaining why America dodged a bullet not electing Ron DeSantis, calling him a puppet. The problem with DeSantis is that is not that he's incompetent, he's a puppet to his donors. Wow, let's hear what, I guess he's talking with Piers Morgan. Let's watch.
Say this to his face, I hope it's totally true. And then the opposition, you know, he had a couple, I thought, very capable people who I like, Ron DeSantis, prime among them.
Yeah.
And the problem with DeSantis was not that he was incompetent. He's supremely competent. I think he did a wonderful job in Florida, and I really like Ron DeSantis, but he was totally a marionette of his donors, utterly. And that became really clear on, like, the war in Ukraine. Like, Ron DeSantis comes out and says, oh, the war in Ukraine's not central to American national security, and Ken Griffin, his biggest donor, reels him in. The next day, Ron DeSantis is like, oh, no, it's really important that we continue to send hundreds of billions to Zelensky, or whatever. And then his donors demand a hate speech law in Florida. He pushes it. It passes. It was too obvious. I would say this to his face. I hope he sees this because I mean it with love. You can't be a pure puppet of your biggest donors. Everyone's influenced by the people around him. Donors have a great deal of influence, inordinate influence probably, but you can't do exactly what they say every time. And it made DeSantis look weak, and it made him look controlled. And this is a moment where people are kind of hip to that trick, and they sort of know the politicians, you know what I mean, aren't really acting on their behalf or even independently. They're acting because some billionaire told them to do what they're doing. And I think DeSantis was just too obvious about that, and it destroyed him.
And that's exactly why we have Donald Trump, who is not beholden to the donors. Here is, I guess he held a roundtable in Palm Beach on the need for strong immigration enforcement. That was a good thing. That happened just a few hours ago. So the question here, again, we have this. How does this happen? Newly deported illegal migrant says he's been living illegally in California for 24 years. He was picked up at 8 a.m. during an immigration raid, was taken straight to the border, no papers to sign needed. Within 4 hours, he was deported to Mexico. Let's hear what's going on here.
By noon, he had been
Directo a la frontera. Nada de firmar papeles. Así nomás de rápido. Es loco, pero es cierto.
At 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning, Juan Peña encountered the Border Patrol in Perris, California, where he had lived undocumented for 24 years. By noon, he had been deported to Mexico.
Llevé a mi niña a la escuela y me encorté con la Border Patrol y pues aquí estoy. Me dejaron que la dejara en la escuela y de ahí me persiguieron. Directo a la frontera. ¿Qué serán? Como unas 4 horas. Se acaba en un abrir y cerrar de ojos. Hoy tienes, mañana no tienes.
Juan fell victim to the ongoing immigration raids happening across the United States, which are able to deport people so quickly, given President Trump's nationwide expansion of the expedited removal policy, previously used only in the border regions, which allows authorities to bypass migration courts and move straight to deportation.
Nada de firmar papeles. Ellos están llegando a lugares de la escuela, en las calles, tiendas, trabajo. Está muy feo.
While all undocumented migrants in the United States are currently subject to removal, the initial raids are appearing to target those with criminal histories.
Yo tenía un problema antes con ellos y tal vez podían irme a buscar. Y me encontraron. Tienes todo en el país donde estás y llegas a México como, pues no como un perro, ¿verdad? Pero te sientes como, pues no valgo nada.
In his first week in office, Donald Trump has already more than doubled the daily rate of immigration arrests. The Latino community in the U.S. is struggling.
Espantada. La gente no sale a los trabajos.
People are scared.
En cualquier lugar.
They're not going to work.
Varias gentes que vienen de allá. Mucha gente viene. No nomás yo, vienen muchísimas.
Okay, thank you for your story, but you should have followed the rules, buddy. Outrageous. Florida Rhino Republicans launch an insane attack on immigration reform. We've also got this from the White House. Let's take a look. This order does not apply to military personnel. The armed forces positions related to immigration enforcement, national security, public safety. FAA sends all of its controllers to the FAA Academy in Oklahoma before going to Control Tower. So there is an official hiring freeze coming out of the White House. This was posted January 20th. I hereby order a freeze on the hiring of federal civilian employees to be applied throughout the executive branch. As part of the freeze, no federal civilian position that is vacant at noon on January 20th may be filled, and no new position may be created except as otherwise provided for in this memorandum or other applicable law. So the hiring freeze is underway in the federal government, and it looks like what's this? This is Times Algebra ND. This looks like something related to the United Kingdom. The government is likely to introduce a bill in Parliament, the Immigration and Foreigners Bill 2025, for streamlining various services related to immigration, foreigners, including their entry, exit, and stay. So we've got that. I guess that's from the United Kingdom. And then we have this from the Hidalgo Bridge in Texas, which is the international bridge. Look at the perp walk happening right there. International bridge crossing into Mexico. ICE and Border Patrol are deporting illegal migrants from the United States back into Mexico. You may be wondering where all the women and children are. Isn't that a good question? Yeah. All the military-age men being sent back. Here is ICE in front of a Delta Sonic car wash in Palatine, Illinois. Oh, look at that. Palatine, Illinois. Here they are. Can you see? Take a look. It's out of focus. When we were younger. So it looks like they're cleaning up. There's a heavy Hispanic population in Illinois. Wheeling, Palatine, Des Plaines, a lot of those areas of Illinois, very heavily populated with Hispanic individuals, and I'm sure a lot of them are going to end up getting deported, as we're seeing here taking place in Palatine, Illinois. What else have we got going on? Continuing to go through this. Sanctuary City, Chicago, a 63-year-old man was murdered in his basement on Sunday night. His arms, oh my goodness, wow. New arrests were made in the killing. 2 Venezuelan illegal aliens. So more blood on Joe Biden's hands. Here is a local news report for additional context.
7600, a homicide. Take a listen to what police heard when they arrived on scene.
Crime scene, 1 victim in the basement unit. His arms tied with a duct tape, legs with a extension cord.
Officers are responding to the call of a man down just before 11 p.m. Sunday night in the 7600 block of West Talcott Avenue. 63-year-old was unresponsive. The Chicago Fire Department treated him on scene, but was shortly pronounced dead. A homicide.
Venezuelan migrants on the loose. The Trump administration is revoking the temporary protected status for over 60,000 Venezuelan migrants. This news just 24 hours old, so the action on ICE Day 11 continues. Here we have more. This is Kristi Noem. She was speaking with CNN, the fakest name in news. And she posted this 19 hours ago. Today I'm revoking Joe Biden's extension of Venezuelan temporary protected status that Secretary Mayorkas forced through at the very end of the administration. Let's listen to her remarks and see how CNN attempts to spin it.
Years in the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Mayorkas put in place an 18-month extension of the temporary protective status. I rolled that back. I rolled it back to the 6 months that it always has been, and he really put that in place to tie my hands, my ability to keep integrity into this program. So this program has been in place for years. We're going to make sure that it's used properly, and that's the president's heart and desire as well. So when the president gives a directive, the Department of Homeland Security will follow it, and we're going to make sure that those who come in under a program, under a visa, and are here in this country, that they're following the rules of that program. That's been abused over the years, and it needs to be fixed. To those folks who are in violation of these programs, they need to recognize that they're accountable to that. They agreed to follow the rules when they came, and that they need to be held accountable when they don't follow them.
And there is accountability finally coming to the United States, and his name is Donald J. Trump. Let's see, we've got some more here. Okay, Governor Ron DeSantis, we covered that. We've got the Tucker Carlson piece. I think we have, is that it? Did we get to it? Yeah, I think that's it. Holy cow. Yeah, well, you know, this day isn't over yet, so we're going to have a lot more news as we continue to track all of these ICE raids and reactions and meltdowns that will continue, and there will be more guys like this who thought they could flout the law, living illegally in the United States for 24 years. Well, those days are finally coming to an end. So what we're witnessing isn't just immigration enforcement, it's the restoration of national sovereignty. While sanctuary cities scramble to hide their illegal populations, ICE is methodically and efficiently doing its job. The speed of these deportations, they tell you everything. It tells you everything you need to know about the previous administration's willful negligence. They could have enforced the law at any time, but they chose not to. So here's the question nobody's asking. If ICE can deport someone who's been here illegally for 24 years in just 4 hours, what does it tell you about all those years of excuses, about backlogged courts and limited resources? Was the system really broken? Or was it working exactly as the deep state intended? Get your exclusive MAG Avengers gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Let everyone know which side you're on in this fight for American sovereignty. All right, buckle up, folks. We are on the loose. No super chats. It must be too early for people to open their wallets to Gary Franchi today. That's fine. I love you guys anyway. I'm here regardless of how many super chats you send. It doesn't matter. We have news. We have a mission. And that mission is to bring the truth to the American people, to crush the narratives, the misinformation and the disinformation that's being spewed from the deep state actors in Washington, D.C., and the mainstream media that is dying. Yes, we are replacing them. We are the media. I've been doing this for 20 plus years. Okay? We have been fighting this fight for 20 years. We've had magazines, documentary films, radio shows, any means necessary, burning DVDs, passing them out in the street, hitting the megaphones, passing out flyers, whatever we could do. 20 years pushing back on the narrative. We are the media now. All right, let's jump into our next topic of the day. This is really tragic. This is really, really tragic. Really tragic. Oh, man. So sad. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Tonight, a nation grapples with an unthinkable tragedy. 67 Americans, including members of our U.S. figure skating team, perish in a catastrophic mid-air collision near Reagan National Airport. A commercial airline and a military Black Hawk helicopter. How does this happen in the most restricted airspace in America? The official story, as usual, raises more questions than answers, and the helicopter that we're told was running dark. No lights in restricted airspace near CIA headquarters. Nothing strange about that, right? Well, we've got the exclusive footage and the details the mainstream media won't touch, and what we've uncovered is disturbing. And in times of national tragedy, it is crucial to remember what matters most. It's our health and the health of our loved ones. And that's why I trust BioTrust Collagen. You see, while we're investigating this plane crash, I discovered something remarkable. The same attention to detail that exposes the truth in journalism is what sets BioTrust apart. Their multi-collagen formula isn't just any supplement. It's backed by real science and independently tested. In these stressful times, taking care of yourself is not optional. Visit healthwithgary.com and get 51% off because the truth about your health matters too. So this was only published about 15 hours ago. And this is what the left does right out the gate. Kyle Becker, he says there are bodies still being fished out of the water after a plane crash, and CNN is trying to blame President Trump. CNN is trying to exploit a tragedy to push a political agenda, despicable behavior, but nobody is surprised at this point. Here's that moment on CNN.
Mary, I have one more question for you. Look, it's January 29th. We are just 9 days out from a presidential transition, an administrative transition. The FAA administrator resigned at the end of the Biden administration, so there is no permanent confirmed FAA administrator right now. This is going to be a time when there's going to be a lot of public communication, right, and a lot of investigation of what happened here. What do you anticipate this transition period is going to mean for what happens today and tomorrow and in the coming days as we find out what happened here?
Oh, yeah, Mary, blame the transition. Blame the transition. Well, right now, we do have a new transportation secretary. Pete Buttigieg is out. And, of course, if he was in, it would take him 2 years to visit the crash site. But, of course, Sean Duffy is on the case. In his first act, Duffy is at Reagan Airport on the job due to that horrible crash between a passenger plane and a military helicopter. Sean Duffy just sworn in as the Transportation Secretary. 13 hours ago, D.C. plane chopper crash update. Search and rescue continues. 300-plus first responders on the scene. Local, state, and U.S. Coast Guard involved. This is a new angle of that horrific moment. The American Airlines plane versus a Black Hawk crash in D.C. The Black Hawk seems to be completely dark. So from what we understand, the Black Hawk was running dark. 15 hours ago, no survivors have been pulled out of the water so far, according to CNN sources. According to radio traffic, 19 bodies recovered out of the 60-plus on the plane. Absolutely tragic. Here's more. OSINT Defender on the number of casualties as a result of the mid-air collision. We cannot provide any more information on recovery efforts. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. So she is, of course, the mayor of D.C. What else? Okay, this is another just a tragedy. You may have seen this video. I don't know. Laura Loomer was fuming over this clip. She said, really disgusting. The reporters are asking him to show his text messages from his wife while knowing his wife is probably dead. This is why people hate the media. So a man was waiting for his wife at Reagan National Airport, who was on board the commercial plane that crashed, tells local news that she texted him shortly before the crash.
I'm just praying that somebody's pulling her out of the river right now as we speak. That's all I can pray for. I'm just praying to God.
When was the last time you spoke with her?
She texted me that they were landing in 20 minutes.
Can you show us a text message that you got from her?
Landing in 20 minutes. The rest of my text did not get delivered. That's when I realized something might be up. I'm just...
Goodness. I don't even know. I don't even know what I would do. Here's an audio recording now being released from plane and Black Hawk crash. Listen to the audio. The question is being asked, who is the person who was pulled from the river after American Airlines regional jet flight 5342 crash? Why is this person mentioned over the radio like this, in this tone? Was this the first body? Was someone alive after the crash? Did they die later? So many unanswered questions. Here is some of that radio traffic.
May I meet up with you, please? I want to take one. You can take two, please.
Sure, I'm at Bravo 49, sir.
Copy.
EMS branch from Airport Fire Point 378.
Go ahead.
Per our conversation earlier, I just spoke with Command Center out here on the water. They advised that as far as they know, they have one body that was taken to D.C. That is all they know so far. They'll confirm and get back with you.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
May I meet up with you, please? I want to take one. You can take two, please.
Sure, I'm at Bravo 49, sir.
Copy.
EMS branch from Airport Fire Point 378.
Go ahead.
Per our conversation earlier, I just spoke with Command Center out here on the water. They advised that as far as they know, they have one body that was taken to D.C. That is all they know so far. They'll confirm and get back with you.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
May I meet up with you, please? I want to take one. You can take two, please.
Sure, I'm at Bravo 49, sir.
Copy.
EMS branch from Airport Fire Point 378.
Go ahead. May I meet up with you, please?
Man. Here we have more. President Trump has called for expedited. This is 49 seconds ago. Daily Wire. President Trump has called for expedited confirmation of his nominees following a tragic plane and helicopter crash in D.C., which resulted in no survivors. He criticized Democrats for delaying the confirmation process and emphasized the need for high standards within the Federal Aviation Administration. During a press briefing, he expressed condolences for the victims and stressed that only the most qualified individuals should work in aviation roles. He argued that merit should take precedence over diversity of initiatives, stated that intellect and talent are crucial for air traffic controllers. And that's true. We should only be hiring people based on their skills and merit and not on the color of their skin. FAA turned away this 6 hours ago. Whoever made that decision belongs in jail. FAA turned away qualified air traffic controllers based solely on their race. CNN published an article about the D.C. plane crash 7 hours before it took place. People asking questions as to how that could be. And Mike Cernovich actually responded to this, and he said that this was likely a tactic done by CNN so they could capture breaking news traffic. They would have a web page. It's an SEO tactic. They would have a web page up, a blank web page, and the age of the page continues to collect the time of the page, so that when they finally publish something to it, because it's older, it gets precedent in the search engine results. Here is Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy saying he's not spoken with the air traffic controllers who were in the tower at the time of the crash.
The second question is for Secretary Duffy. Have you been in touch with the air traffic controllers who were in the tower at the time of the crash?
I have not.
You have not. And second question, this is your first several hours in this position. What are your thoughts? What are you feeling right now?
My focus is on those who are impacted on this flight. And again, I've been secretary for a little over a day, and the tragedy that we're going to deal with this recovery, I think is touching everyone's hearts, whether it's here in the greater DC area or in Kansas. And again, I think everyone here is thinking and praying for those who potentially have lost a loved one. And thank you.
Keep praying for all those families. Here is DC Fire Chief John Donnelly officially announcing there are no survivors. President Trump stating he's been fully briefed.
From the plane, and we are now at a point where we are switching from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident, and we have recovered 27 people from the plane and 1 from the helicopter. The District Office of the Medical Examiner has lead on reuniting these bodies and these people with their loved ones, and we will continue to work to find all the bodies and collect them and reunite them with their loved ones. We should also acknowledge that the Virginia Medical Examiner and the Army Medical Examiner are involved in this operation and a very important part of getting the people identified. We are now at a point where we are...
And we also have this. Oh my goodness, what is this? I can't even look. First responders stand in solemn honor as the victim recovered after the mid-air collision between American Airlines flight and Black Hawk helicopter. So must be one of the individuals from the Black Hawk. Here's some footage of the wreckage. Oh boy. Oh man. It is believed that 3 American servicemen perished in that. But of course, there are questions being raised, and here is one of them.
Reports that this helicopter crash story in D.C. just got so weird. I am getting unconfirmed reports that people have tracked the helicopter coming from a CIA headquarters. Okay, that's what.
Yeah, there's that report we heard about. And here is air traffic control moments before.
Did you see that? 472. American 3130, go around, turn left end 250, climb maintain 3000.
Okay, left end 350, 3000, American 3130.
Blue Sheep 347, go around, climb maintain 3000, flight
3000, heading, go around 3000, Blue Streak 5347.
Blackjack 3, can you return to base?
Blackjack 3, proceed directly to Glebe. I need you to land. I need you to land immediately. Can you go to Dulles for a few minutes? Austin 7, proceed due westbound. Contact Dulles Tower 120.1. Marshal 13, can you go to Baltimore?
Here we have a statement from the American Airlines CEO. An official statement now.
The CEO of American. Hello, everyone. I'm Robert Isom, the CEO of American Airlines. I want to brief you on a serious accident that occurred involving an American Eagle aircraft. The aircraft was operated by PSA Airlines, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of American Airlines. First and most importantly, I'd like to express our deep sorrow about these events. This is a difficult day for all of us at American Airlines, and our efforts now are focused entirely on the needs of our passengers, crew members, partners, first responders, along with their families and loved ones. I know that there are many questions, and at this early stage, I'll not be able to answer all of them, but I do want to share the information I have at this time. American Eagle Flight 5342, operated by PSA Airlines, a CRJ 700 aircraft traveling from Wichita, Kansas to Washington Reagan National Airport, has been involved in an accident near Washington, D.C. It appears to have collided with a military aircraft on approach. Flight 5342 was under the command of 4 crew members and carried 60 passengers for a total of 64 people on board. We are actively working with local, state, and federal authorities on emergency response efforts, and the American Airlines care team has been activated to assist our passengers and their families. We're cooperating fully with the National Transportation Safety Board in its investigation and will continue to provide all the information we can. Our cooperation is without pause, and we want to learn everything we can about today's events. That work will take time, but anything we can do now, we're doing. And right now, that means focusing on taking care of all passengers and crew involved, as well as their families. Members of our GO team will be on their way to Washington, D.C., and I'll be heading there shortly as well. We know that many people will be concerned for the welfare of their loved ones, and we've set up a special helpline friends and family can call at 1-800-679-8215. That's 1-800-679-8215. If you believe you've had friends or family on board American Eagle Flight 5342. We understand and appreciate that people are eager for information. Please know that we'll continue to share accurate and timely information as soon as we can, but anything we must report must be accurate. We owe that to everyone involved. Our team of highly trained professionals will be working around the clock to support our passengers, crew, and their families however we can, and we'll update you as soon as we can. Thank you.
Such a tragedy. Here is Elon Musk 1 year ago, referring to DEI and plane crashes. He says it will take an airplane crashing and killing hundreds of people for them to change this crazy policy of DIE. Somebody tell, Keith Olbermann freaking out at Donald Trump, calling him an international embarrassment, calling him a psychotic ghoul, telling him to shut the F up. This is what Donald Trump, this is the message he released shortly after the crash occurred last night. The airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It's a clear night. The lights in the plane were blazing. Why did the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why did the control tower tell the helicopter what to do? Instead of asking it if they saw the plane, this is a bad situation. It looks like it should have been prevented. Well, from what I understand, from what I've researched so far, what we know is that there was a air traffic controller who was in touch with the helicopter and with the airplane. And as the plane was on approach, the helicopter was also approaching, and the air traffic controller told the helicopter to look out for the plane. Well, the helicopter pilot looked in the wrong direction and saw a different plane that was landing and believed the air traffic controller was speaking about that plane, and then it was too late. No survivors. Here is more from the emergency officials, the fire chief.
From the plane rescue operation to a recovery operation. At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident. And we have recovered 27 people from the plane and 1 from the helicopter. The district office of the medical examiner has lead on reuniting these bodies and these people with their loved ones, and we will continue to work to find all the bodies and collect them and reunite them with their loved ones. We should also acknowledge that the Virginia medical examiner and the Army medical examiner are involved in this operation and a very important part of getting people identified. So,
from what I understand, also this this was, I think, the first air disaster in 15 years. Here we have Eugene Stoner saying it's fun watching you Democrat dimwits being so pissed off over Trump's election that you find ways to blame him for the plane crash. You haven't been this pissed off since slavery ended. As wrong as it may be to laugh at the mentally deficient, you make it so easy. And that's, of course, that's what they do right out the gate. Here we have another one saying, I'm not blaming Trump for last night's crash, but imagine if Biden fired 100 FAA officers a week prior to a plane crash, added the Krasenstein brothers, a pair of online trolls. What would Fox News cover for the next 2 weeks? Yeah, that's a quote there. Raw Story reporting. The heads of these agencies have nothing to do with minute-to-minute air traffic control. Someone made a big mistake. I don't understand why a helicopter couldn't maneuver out of the way. And, of course, we also have Representative Swalwell wasting no time. He said, just making it about himself. People are already trolling him. That's someone fixed his post. And what Swalwell said, I landed at DCA this evening at 8:42 p.m., IAH to DCA minutes before an in-flight collision over the airport. My thoughts are with all involved and their families, hoping first responders find survivors. And Creatively Dan says, fixed it. When a catastrophic event happens, it's better not to make yourself the center of attention, you scum. What is wrong with you? Yeah. Perfect edit. Main character syndrome. That's what they're doing. KK Bird trolling Swalwell. How about not making this about yourself and offering prayers? I noticed you left that out of your statement. Another, a commercial plane and military helicopter collide, and Democrat congressmen and Democrat senators fabricated a theory that President Trump caused the crash. The sad thing is most Democrats believe that story and are running with it, hoping it gets legs. Speaker Mike Johnson, however, very different take than Swalwell. I'm deeply saddened to learn about the horrific tragedy at Reagan National Airport. Please join me in praying for everyone involved as well as our first responders. And this is probably one of the most disgusting takes. Everybody was roasting this person online. JoJo from Jers. She's got about 1 million followers on X. Paul Zapula says, one of the most disgusting people on this platform, JoJo from Jers, is trying to make the D.C. plane crash political. Shame on her. So, this is what she said. Maybe, just effing maybe, our so-called Secretary of Defense should be spending a little less effing time on the effing news, talking about diversity being dead, and a little more effing time making sure our military aircraft don't crash into our commercial jets. She's already blaming Pete Hegseth for this. And then she followed up shortly thereafter, do not let them try to gaslight you with now is not that time BS. If this horrific tragedy happened on Biden's watch, you can bet your ass they'd be blaming DEI 24/7 on a loop. Well, people are raising that question about DEI. We don't know the air traffic controller. We don't know their qualifications, but we do know that, as I showed you earlier, that the FAA did turn people away, highly qualified people, because of their color of their skin. Laura Loomer, 14 hours ago, stating it's pretty impressive how it's 12:30 a.m. President Trump's entire cabinet is awake and responding to the tragic crash between an American Airlines passenger jet and a Black Hawk helicopter. Such a striking difference between the Trump administration and the Biden regime. Gaze for Trump says, if you're in any way trying to blame the D.C. plane crash on Donald Trump, you are a trash human being. Be you JoJo from Jers or CNN, go F yourselves tonight. There are many dead Americans. FBI. Washington Field Office. The FBI Washington Field Office National Capital Response Squad is responding to an aviation incident. Please direct questions to National Transportation Safety Board. Here are some of the images from Getty from last night following the crash. So sad. So this is what the helicopter was. Black Hawk helicopter. The helo involved in the terrible plane crash is not any old helicopter. It's a VH-60 Black Hawk VIP transport. We don't know who is on board, but it was tracked leaving right at CIA headquarters, according to flight data. So it's not unusual if there's a helicopter moving out of CIA headquarters. Doesn't mean it's on a secret spy mission or some covert operation. You know, just could be moving personnel across Washington, D.C. Happens all the time. So a lot of people, they're going to try and get all conspiracy in this, but I'm not going to jump to that. I'm just not going to go there. You know, we have members of the U.S. ice skating team, figure skating team, who are victims here, families who are suffering right now. And until, of course, we get a full flight manifest from the plane and we understand exactly who was on that helicopter, you know, we could take a look and try to understand. But I don't think there's any nefarious. I think this was human error, 100%. So don't get ahead of your skis. You know, the fact that it's happening during the Trump transition is irrelevant. And the fact, I think you had a miscommunication from the tower to the chopper and the airport and the airliner, and it created a tragedy. And also, from what I've read, that this is a very common flight path for these helicopters. So, whoever decided to put that flight path right in the path of landing jets is a moron. I don't care how much air traffic controllers you have in those towers. One is bound to fail, and it did. So it's time to get all those flight paths rerouted so this never happens again, regardless of who's at the tower. So the death toll now stands at 67, no survivors, among them the brightest stars of American figure skating, parents, children, heroes, and a military helicopter crew whose mission we still don't know about. Transportation Secretary, newly sworn in, Sean Duffy, has not spoken to the air traffic controllers yet who were on duty, but the FBI's field office did swoop in immediately. And mainstream media, well, they're already trying to politicize the tragedy, desperately attempting to blame President Trump for an accident that occurred in airspace controlled by the very agencies that opposed him. But here's what everybody should be asking. What was a VIP transport helicopter flying? Why? Why were they flying without lights? Doing it in that airspace at that exact moment. Why was a track leaving a CIA headquarters just minutes before the collision? These are questions we want answers to. We're not saying there's some nefarious activity here, but we deserve answers as the American people, and those families deserve answers. So share your support for independent journalism with our new MAGA Avenger gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. You'll find it linked below. All right, let's continue. See what you guys are saying here in the chat room. Okay. Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell, Lisa Murkowski, vote them out. The helo should not have been there, period. It was a high-traffic runway, exactly. Air accidents are not fun to work on, sure you. Yes, sure you knows. He is a coroner, after all. November 15, 2020, I was fired from my career of 13 years. Stellar work record. Ranger Xbox. May God greet you with open arms. Send peace to all the family. Sometimes accidents are simply an accident. Trump raises standards for all government jobs. Biden installed DEI and nixed Trump's high standards. Yeah. All right, let's get to our next topic of the evening here. Here we go. You know, something's changing in Washington when more than 50 former FBI agents demand the confirmation of a man the deep state fears most. I'm talking about Kash Patel, the name that makes career bureaucrats tremble. Why? Because he's already done what they said couldn't be done. He exposed the Russia hoax, unveiled their FISA abuse, and revealed their plot against the sitting president. Now he's poised to take control of the very agency they weaponized. The deep state's reaction, it is pure panic. And right now, we're going to show you footage from his confirmation hearing that explains exactly why they are terrified. And trust me, it is even worse than you think. And just like Kash Patel is exposing the deep state's corruption, people are discovering the truth about their blood pressure. The establishment wants you dependent on their system, but there is a natural solution they don't want you to know about. While Patel fights to restore integrity to the FBI, you can take control of your health without relying on Big Pharma's expensive solutions. Think about it. Your blood pressure, it matters as much as the pressure we're putting on the deep state. Visit boostwithgary.com and get up to 40% off of your order. Take back control of your health just like Kash is taking back control of the FBI. DC Drano put out this tweet just about 5 hours ago. Kash Patel's first move as FBI director should be to fire every FBI agent who kneeled for the BLM. Yeah, remember when they did that? This is why the deep state senators will oppose him. They defend the Marxists in our government. Mike Lee posting a bingo card. How long will it take to complete the Kash Patel bingo card today? During the hearing, special thanks to Judiciary Committee colleague Senator Thom Tillis for preparing this. Okay, we've got Senator Thom Tillis showing the bingo card. He's already X'd out 4 boxes. Let's take a look.
Colleagues, I created a Kash bingo card that I have available to any of my colleagues who would like it on the other side of the aisle. Some may view this as an unserious caricature and not appropriate for this committee. Sadly, I consider it a serious caricature of what I expect to be witnessed today. I think we'll have words like enemies list and deep state. I've already X'd out 4 boxes in the opening statements alone. The fact of the matter is, some people will be here to simply substantiate a false narrative.
And a false narrative is what we fight back against from every day. Here we have, just an hour ago, this is the exchange between Senator Ted Cruz and Kash Patel. Jesse James on X writes, This is one of the things that scares the hell out of the Democrats. Confirm Kash. Listen to this.
And Senator,
what were you doing on that day?
On that day specifically, responding to preparing to mobilize and deploy the National Guard once we got the lawful request from the local governing authority, which was the mayor of D.C. and the Speaker of the House.
Now, how many days in advance were you working to prepare the Department of Defense to help secure the Capitol on January 6th?
Days in advance, Senator. We were in the Oval Office on an unrelated national security matter with the President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and myself. And the President authorized up to 20,000 plus National Guardsmen and women to secure any security measures necessary related to the Capitol. So we were moving to the fullest extent of the law before the requisite request came from a local governing authority days ahead of time.
And while you were Chief of Staff at DOD, how many times did DOD approach Capitol Police and ask if they needed National Guard assistance?
I believe those letters are well documented, numerous instances, and in numerous of those instances, those requests were shut down.
Now, am I correct that the Capitol Sergeant at Arms said assistance was unnecessary?
That's correct, Senator.
Who did the Sergeant at Arms report to?
The Speaker of the House.
That would have been Nancy Pelosi at the time. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
And would that also be Chuck Schumer, then the Senate Majority Leader?
The Sergeant at Arms, yes, Senator, reports up there.
Did Mayor Bowser, the Democrat-elected mayor in D.C., either request or allow National Guard assistance?
She put in writing on the days leading up to January 6th a declination for National Guard additional support, and that letter is available publicly to the world.
And just to speak English for folks at home, a declination meant she said no, don't send National Guard. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a simple question, because from the questioning from my Democrat colleagues, they might think otherwise. Do you condemn violence against law enforcement?
All of it.
What were you...
Seems pretty simple to me. And that's why they're terrified, because he speaks the truth. Neil Bowers writing, Senator White House is damn near foaming at the mouth over memes that cache re-truth. And Neil Bowers writes, this dude slept in his clothes from the RFK hearing. Cash's response, have at the memes. Oh, here we go. It's meme review time.
And I quote, is that you, Cash Patel, retruthed, reposting that at the top of that page?
Senator, I had nothing to do with the creation of that meme.
Is that you reposting it was my question.
And that's me at the top.
You said FBI agents were responsible for the violence on January 6th, and I quote you here, beyond a reasonable doubt.
Did you make that meme, sir? Did you retruth that meme? Did you make a joke on the internet? How dare you? How dare you? Where's Greta Thunberg when you need her? Oh, there she is. Okay, hang on. Let's go back a little bit.
Responsible for the violence on January 6th, and I quote you here, beyond a reasonable doubt. Is that what you said?
That's completely incorrect, and I appreciate the opportunity to address that.
I'll give you an opportunity in writing, but this is my time now.
Have at it.
An Inspector Attorney General investigation found that that was false. And you said we should impeach judges who rule against Donald Trump, who are, in your words, political terrorists. When this nominee tries to explain all this away, keep one thing in mind. He's testified under oath before a Colorado judge who presided over a Trump case in which he was a witness. And the judge found, and I'm quoting here, he was not a credible witness. His testimony is not only illogical, but completely devoid of any evidence in the record. That's from a judge. This is a dangerous time, and I ask all my colleagues to consider whether these plain comments by this person and by his own Trump administration colleagues should be given a blind eye, just overlooked, or whether, like the warnings of pardoning violent January 6 offenders,
oh, spare me. Spare me. Here we have Tricky Dick Durbin. He's my senator. Yeah, I unfortunately have to claim him because he is from my state. Asking, do you think that America is safer because the J6 defendants have been pardoned? Here's Cash's response.
To the January 38 criminal convictions, 38. He'd been sentenced to 14 years in prison. He was released because of the president's unconditional clemency, which was given to him as well. So I guess my question is this. Was President Donald Trump wrong to give blanket clemency to the January 6 defendants?
Thank you, Ranking Member. A couple of things on that. One, the power of the presidential pardon is just that, the president.
Well, I concede he has the authority. I'm asking, was he wrong to do it?
And as we discussed in our private meeting, Senator, I have always rejected any violence against law enforcement, and I have, including in that group, is specifically addressed any violence against law enforcement on January 6th, and I do not agree with the commutation of any sentence of any individual who committed violence against law enforcement.
So do you think that America is safer because these 1,600 people have been given an opportunity to come out of serving their sentences and live in our communities again?
Senator, I have not looked at all 1,600 individual cases. I have always advocated for imprisoning those that cause harm to our law enforcement and civilian communities. I also believe America is not safer because President Biden's commutation of a man who murdered 2 FBI agents, Agent Kohler's and Williams' family, deserve better than to have the man that point blank range fired a shotgun into their heads and murdered them released from prison. So it goes both ways.
Leonard Pelletier was in prison for 45 years. He's 80 years old, and he was sentenced to home confinement. So he's not free, as you might have just suggested.
He killed 2 FBI agents.
That's true, he did, and he went to prison for it and should have. 38.
That's okay. He's on home confinement, though, right? Here we have, another exchange between Durbin and Patel. Durbin insinuating that Patel is a racist.
First minority. Senator, as you can see, I took a photograph with an individual who showed up at a book event. I don't believe I'm guilty by association, and I certainly don't believe that an individual who was the first minority to serve as the Deputy Director of National Intelligence for this country is a racist in any way, and I detest any conjecture to the contrary.
Here we have that X-22 report was mentioned during Kash Patel's confirmation hearing. Let's listen.
I'm unable to...
RICO statute violation for criminally organizing the United States government to break the law to rig presidential elections. Did you say that, yes or no?
That is Senator Amy Klobuchar. And here's Kash Patel.
You're reading a partial statement, so I'm unable to fully respond.
Okay, again, we'll put it on the record. X-22 report podcast 20, that is from, I'll get you the date, about a year ago. One of the names on your list was Bill Barr, RICO statute violation for criminally organizing the United States government to break the law to rig presidential elections. Did you say that, yes or no?
Senator, you're reading a partial statement, so I'm unable.
And we've got more from the hearing. It's time to clean house, says Lance on the 7th floor at the Hoover Building. Kash Patel is the leader FBI needs to increase transparency, reform the Bureau, and restore integrity. Confirm the man. Here is Senator Dick Durbin 5 hours ago, firmly stating he will not support the nomination.
Very clear. His book, start there. He dropped his playbook. We all have a copy of it. We know what his agenda is. It's very clear.
Are there any circumstances where you could vote for him if he answers some questions satisfactorily?
I doubt it. I've investigated this gentleman. I've read this book twice, which is cruel and unusual, but I've gone through it twice, so I understand what makes him tick. He should not be head of the FBI. Okay? His book.
He should not be the FBI director. Here we have George Beasy says this is why we need Kash Patel. The system went after him, and now he'll go after the system.
Weaponized. Senator, this may be one of the scenarios that most uniquely qualifies me to take command at the FBI. Having been the victim of government overreach and a weaponized system of justice and law enforcement, I know what it feels like to have the full weight of the United States government barreling down on you. And as the Biden Inspector General determined, those activities by the FBI and DOJ were wholly improper and not predicated upon law and facts. I will ensure, if confirmed, that no American is subjected to that kind of torment, to that kind of cost, financially and personally. And most importantly, I will make sure that no American is subjected to death threats like I was, and subjected to moving their residences like I was, because of government overreach, because of leaks of information about my personal status. If confirmed as FBI director, Mr. Chairman, you have my commitment that no one in this country will feel that pain.
Amen. Amen. Just bring the pain to those who deserve it. DC Drano points out, you want to know why the deep state hates Kash Patel? Because he discovered and exposed the greatest scandals in U.S. history. The FBI, CIA, DOJ spied on President of the United States, Trump. Now Kash will be the FBI director and can expose everything else that they have done. He broke open the 2016 election FISA abuse scandal. Strategic media leaks were used by the FBI, DOJ to amplify confusion narrative. Time to confirm Kash Patel. Here is a clip posted 6 hours ago by Colin Rugg. Over 50 former and retired FBI agents sent a letter to Senate leaders ahead of his confirmation hearing demanding they confirm him. The Reform the Bureau former agents say Patel is the only one who can fix the broken FBI. Let's listen.
I promise you this. I am standing here because of the American dream. I am not standing here because of the color of my skin. I'm standing here because I earned my right on this stage, and you earned your right to be here with me. And I promise you this, with every fiber of my being, that our law enforcement, that our teachers, that our first responders, that our veterans, that our men and women in uniform who dare to serve this country and put themselves below the rest of our needs will be reprioritized to the top of the heap because they are standing on that wall, and we will not let that light go dark on them.
Amen. Amen. There is about to be a new FBI director. Just pray he gets confirmed. 50 former FBI agents sending a letter demanding his confirmation. Chuck Grassley commends Kash Patel for exposing the endless lies behind Russiagate. Here's more.
Prosecutor, Mr. Patel joined the Department of Justice under President Obama as a counterterrorism prosecutor in the National Security Division. In this role, he investigated and he prosecuted many important cases, including the World Cup bombing in Uganda in 2010, for which he received an award of excellence. In 2017, Representative Devin Nunes asked Mr. Patel to join the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence to uncover the truth about Russiagate. And Mr. Patel did uncover the truth. It was during this period of time that, if you remember, I first met you, Mr. Patel. Through tireless works, Mr. Patel showed that Crossfire Hurricane was based upon fraudulent, discredited information paid for by the Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign. As reward for his efforts to uncover the truth, mainstream media, can you believe this, personally attacked Mr. Patel, and the FBI secretly subpoenaed his records. Now, I know what that is because my staff received similar treating.
Unbelievable. The weaponization is real. Here we have Kash Patel. This was just a minute ago, talking about narco trafficking, which he says is the underbelly of all threats facing America.
That very serious. Senator Durbin's talked about, what your priority or your priorities will be. And I think your testimony has been that it'll be adherence to the Constitution and the people of the United States of America, right? You take that very seriously.
That's it. That's the only thing that matters.
Could you talk about maybe some other priorities? We talked initially in my first round about getting the FBI back to its core mission, which is to fight crime and not, sort of try to do the things that it's been doing the last 4 years. Talk about how you might bring that together.
So, Senator, I appreciate the question. It's something I wanted to address maybe 6 hours ago, so I appreciate the opportunity to do it now. Whether we prioritize going after violent crime and national security, we cannot defend against either of those successfully unless we go after the underlying criminal nexus there. And whether it's human trafficking, whether it's terrorism, whether it's opioids, and whether it's just outright gang violence, the intersection there is narco trafficking. It is the underlying underbelly, the evil, illegal underbelly of all those operations. And we have not prioritized, in my opinion, as a law enforcement agency, the collective power we can rain down on criminal narco trafficking networks.
Senator Durbin's talked about.
Break them all up. Here's another moment. The only thing that will matter, if confirmed.
16 years of in the collective All of those statements are taken out of grotesque context. And anyone that thinks my 16 years of service isn't exemplary on how I would proceed if confirmed as FBI is intentionally putting false information into the public ether and creating more public discourse. The only thing that will matter if I'm confirmed as a director of the FBI is a de-weaponized, depoliticized system of law enforcement completely devoted to rigorous obedience of the Constitution and a singular standard of justice.
Amen. Amen. And then we have this, George Beasy, just 36 minutes ago. How did I miss this moment? Senator John Kennedy is so funny. Sometimes drama in Congress can be hilarious. Let's listen into this lighthearted moment.
Start this, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Before we go to leave.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, what do you want?
I love this guy. Mr. Chairman, I'm unlike Senator Tillis. I mean, if we're going to start this, I want an extra 3 minutes.
Well,
now, my friend Senator Klobuchar went 3 minutes over.
So, here what you're saying is the chairman wasn't a very good chairman by not shutting her up. But I've gone through this before, and I think I know how to handle it. And get
I think you're a star-spangled awesome chairman. I just want to say that for the record. But if you're going to let somebody over there go 3 minutes over, I want my extra 3 minutes.
Well, let's see if it's abused by anybody else before we make that decision.
I'm just telling you, I'm going to abuse it.
Well, I'm not going to let you abuse it.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Before we go to leave.
Oh, you got to love it, right? You got to love it. So, Senator Dick Durbin claims he won't support Patel under any circumstances. The same Durbin who's blocking the release of that certain guy who had an island, the flight logs. Isn't that interesting? Well, meanwhile, Senator Chuck Grassley commends Patel for exposing fraudulent, discredited information paid for by the Democrat National Committee. The battle lines are drawn, but this isn't just about one man's confirmation. It's about who really controls America's premier law enforcement agency. So here's what everybody should be asking. If Kash Patel was able to expose this much corruption from the outside, what will he find when he has full access to the FBI's files? What secrets are hidden in those buildings that have the deep state fighting so desperately to keep him out? Drop a comment below. And rep your support for FBI reform with our exclusive MAG Avengers gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. All right. We don't have no super chats today? That's really bizarre. That's really strange. Let's see what you guys are saying. We don't know who's on that plane, Elisa. We do not know. DEI is to blame for a lot of BS. If President Trump finds out what they done to me, he would fix it. Okay, I know this guy. We've emailed before. I've done all I can. All I can tell you is you have to send your story to multiple agencies. Send it to your congressman, send it to your senator, send it to the administration, address it to the president. Just do a full court blast of a letter. Get all the email addresses you can. Collect them up. Send emails and send letters everywhere you go and make phone calls to get your story in front of these people. That's all I can tell you what to do. Blame DEI. I love Senator Kennedy. Let's see. General Wesley Clark said there was plans to integrate NATO and Russia, but it was killed. That's horrible, like the one guy who could have stopped the Bolshevik Revolution. All right, let's get into our next topic of the day. Okay. When does no tax on overtime start? I don't know, Grayley Art. Remember when the left loved Tulsi Gabbard? That was before she committed the ultimate sin. telling the truth about their golden child, Kamala Harris. Well, now this decorated combat veteran faces her toughest battle yet, confirmation as the Director of National Intelligence. But something happened in today's hearing that no one expected. Tulsi revealed she was placed on a secret domestic terror watch list just 24 hours after criticizing Harris. So let that sink in for a moment. A congressional representative, a combat veteran on a terror list for criticizing a politician? Still think this is about national security? And speaking of power grabs, while the deep state tries to maintain their grip on intelligence agencies, they're also maintaining a grip on your power bill. Just as Tulsi is exposing their corruption, this revolutionary device is exposing their energy scam. It's a simple plug-in device that big energy companies hate because it gives the power back to you, literally. Just like Tulsi is fighting to reform intelligence agencies, this device helps you fight back against rising energy costs. Visit don'twastepower.com and join the thousands of Americans taking control of their power bills. That's don'twastepower.com. Now let's take a moment to meet Tulsi Gabbard. She could very well be the next Director of National Intelligence.
You know, even as they talk about the fundamentals, break it down into the simple things. You do the simple things right, everything else comes together. So I'm learning a lot from them and having a ton of fun.
Yeah, she is having fun, that's for sure. We've got this clip here too. She's talking about Edward Snowden, pardon me.
Information
here she is.
And intelligence
what? Stop.
That he
stop,
released,
stop,
nor the way
stop.
in
Oh
which
my
he
goodness.
did it.
What is up? I said stop. Stop the clip. I got to set it up
Would have
first,
been opportunities for him to come to you on this committee or seek out the IG to release.
What a mess. Okay, I apologize. This is from 4 hours ago. Tulsi Gabbard. Edward Snowden broke the law, but he also released information that exposed egregious, illegal, and unconstitutional programs. Interesting. I think Edward Snowden's an American hero.
Sir, do you
Let's
still
listen
think
now.
Edward Snowden is brave?
Mr. Vice Chairman, Edward Snowden broke the law. I do not agree with or support with all of the information and intelligence that he released, nor the way in which he did it. There would have been opportunities for him to come to you on this committee or seek out the IG to release that information. The fact is, he also, even as he broke the law, released information that exposed egregious, illegal, and unconstitutional programs that are happening within our government that led to serious reforms that Congress undertook.
Chairman, we got 5 minutes. So I take your answer, and these are your quotes. Brave, please join my bipartisan legislation calling for charges to be dropped against him. Do you disagree that legislation was not appropriate? Do you believe he is brave or not?
Yeah,
back those words.
Once again, Senator, Edward Snowden broke the law. He also released information
we agree that Edward Snowden
that
broke the
exposed
law.
the United States
Asking your
government's
question whether
illegal
your
programs.
legislation and your words are still your beliefs. Yes or no, please.
I'm making myself very clear. Edward
Ma'am.
Snowden broke the law. He released information about the United States government's
I've got other issues to
illegal
raise.
activities.
Ma'am,
If I may just finish my thoughts, Senator. In this role that I've been nominated for, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will be responsible for protecting our nation's secrets, and I have 4 immediate steps that I would take to prevent another Snowden-like leak.
Ma'am.
Wow. Wow, here we have this, Tulsi Gabbard. Soldier Bulletin 3 minutes ago posting this. Tulsi Gabbard for first female president. That would be a nice smack in the face for Kamala and Hillary supporters. Let's listen to this clip from the hearing.
Now, before I close, I want to warn the American people who are watching at home. You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States, accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters. The same tactic was used against President Trump and failed. The American people elected President Trump with a decisive victory and mandate for change. The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet. I have no love for Assad or Gaddafi or any dictator. I just hate al-Qaeda. I hate that we have leaders who cozy up to Islamist extremists, minimizing them to so-called rebels. As Jake Sullivan said to Hillary Clinton, quote, al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria. Well, Syria is now controlled by an al-Qaeda offshoot, HTS, led by an Islamist jihadist who danced in the streets on 9/11 and who is responsible for the killing of many American service members. Now, before I close, I want to warn the American people who are watching.
That is quite a warning. Here she is taking apart the Russia hoax. The dirty 51 laptop letter, Clapper, Brennan, the weaponized FBI in her opening statement. And then she gets personal.
The American people elected Donald Trump as their president not once but twice. And yet the FBI and intelligence agencies were
Wait, we have to issue a correction. The American people elected Donald Trump actually 3 times. So you got that wrong there, Tulsi.
By his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin. Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, using a Clinton campaign-funded false dossier as their so-called evidence. Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election. Former DNI James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records, yet was never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible. Under Biden, the FBI abused its power for political reasons to try to surveil Catholics who attend traditional Latin Mass, labeling them as quote-unquote radical traditionalist Catholics. Wow. Personally, just 24 hours after I criticized Kamala Harris and her nomination, I was placed on a secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. Sadly, there are more examples. The bottom line is this must end.
And it will once she is in office. Kash Patel is confirmed. And let's see, here's some memes. People putting AI-generated images of Tulsi giving Trump a high five, calling her a real-life Wonder Woman. This is from the Democrat debate back when she was a candidate. In 2020. That's when Democrats loved Tulsi Gabbard until she went after elite corporate interests supported by the left and then ended Kamala's 2020 presidential run. Now they smear her in her nomination for DNI. Let's watch this flashback.
In Washington.
You have criticized Hillary Clinton as the, quote, personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party. What is the rot you see in the Democratic Party?
That our Democratic Party, unfortunately, is not the party that is of, by, and for the people. It is a party that has been and continues to be influenced by the foreign policy establishment in Washington, represented by Hillary Clinton and others' foreign policy, by the military-industrial complex and other greedy corporate interests. I'm running for president to be the Democratic nominee that rebuilds our Democratic Party, takes it out of their hands, and truly puts it in the hands of the people of this country, a party that actually hears the voices of Americans who are struggling all across this country, and puts it in the hands of veterans veterans and fellow Americans who are calling for an end to this ongoing Bush-Clinton-Trump foreign policy doctrine of regime change wars, overthrowing dictators in other countries, needlessly sending my brothers and sisters in uniform into harm's way to fight in wars that actually undermine our national security and have cost us thousands of American lives. These are wars that have cost us as American taxpayers trillions of dollars since 9/11 alone, dollars that have come out of our pockets, out of our hospitals, out of our schools, out of our infrastructure needs. As president, I will end this foreign policy, end these regime change wars, work to end this new Cold War and arms race, and instead invest our hard-earned taxpayer dollars actually into serving the needs of the American people
Thank you,
right here at
Congresswoman.
home.
Senator Harris, any response?
Oh, sure. I think that it's unfortunate that we have someone on the stage who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama.
That's
who
ridiculous,
has spent
Senator
full-time,
Harris. That's
who has spent
ridiculous.
full-time criticizing people on this stage as affiliated with the Democratic Party. When Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump in the Trump Tower, fails to call a war criminal by what he is as a war criminal, and then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again, criticizing the Democratic Party. What we need on the stage in November is someone who has the ability to win. And by that, we need someone on that stage who has the ability to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump, and someone who has the ability to rebuild the Obama coalition and bring the party.
I just want to pause this. Someone who can go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump. Well, you had your chance, Kamala, and you failed. He mopped the floor with you. Such a great flashback to hear these words.
The nation together. I believe I am that candidate.
Thank you, Senator. Congresswoman Gabbard, I'll give you a chance to respond.
What Senator Harris is doing is unfortunately continuing to traffic in lies and smears and innuendos because she cannot challenge the substance of the argument that I'm making, the leadership and the change that I'm seeking to bring in our foreign policy, which only makes me guess that she will, as president, continue the status quo, continue the Bush-Clinton-Trump foreign policy of regime change wars, which is deeply destructive. This is personal to me because I served in Iraq. I left my seat in the state legislature in Hawaii, volunteered to deploy to Iraq, where I served in a medical unit where every single day I saw the terribly high human cost of war. I take very seriously the responsibility that the president has to serve as commander-in-chief, to lead our armed forces, and to make sure always, no, I'm not going to put party interests first. I will put the interests of the American people
Thank you, Congresswoman. I want to bring you.
And she is going to bring that to the Director of National Intelligence role. Over 1,100 veterans have signed a letter supporting Tulsi Gabbard's nomination. That's awesome. Here we have Tulsi Gabbard. They state Edward Snowden 8 hours ago. Holy cow. Tulsi Gabbard will be required to disown all prior support for whistleblowers as a condition of confirmation today. I encourage her to do so. Tell them I harmed national security and the sweet, soft feelings of staff in D.C. That's what passes for the Pledge of Allegiance. Edward Snowden. Oh, man. He is proud of it. Here we have J.D. Vance. In their own way, both Tulsi, RFK Jr. represent parts of the new coalition in our party. To say they're unwelcome in the cabinet is to insult those new voters. To reject their confirmation is to reject the idea that President Trump decides his cabinet. Charlie Kirk said that the vote for Tulsi Gabbard might be done privately in a skiff, with the vote tallies being kept secret from the American people. This is outrageous and wrong. The American people deserve to know how their senators vote on Trump's nominees. So we have a lot going on today. Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, RFK Jr., all having their hearings. And Roger Stone had this to say. Tulsi Gabbard was good enough to fight in the wars created by John Brennan, John Bolton, and the rest of the Bush crime syndicate. Now she wants to serve as director of national intelligence, and all of a sudden she's not good enough? She's good enough to fight in their wars on their behalf, but not good enough to serve in D.C.? Give me a break. Even Roger Stone is standing with Tulsi Gabbard. Give us a thumbs up if you fully support Tulsi Gabbard for director of national intelligence. So the confirmation hearings continue. We're going to continue to bring you the latest as it happens. But the good news is over 1,100 veterans have signed a letter supporting Tulsi's nomination. Now, these aren't just any veterans. These are the men and women who have seen firsthand how intelligence agencies really operate. They know what's at stake. Meanwhile, the same people who pushed the Russia hoax, who lied about Hunter's laptop, who put American citizens on terror lists for wrongthink, they're in full panic mode. But here's the real question everybody should be asking. If they're willing to put a sitting member of Congress on a terror watch list for criticizing Kamala Harris, what have they done to ordinary Americans who dare to question their narrative? What other lists are we on that we don't even know about? Comment below. And show your patriot pride with our MAG Avengers gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. It is linked down below. All right, we have a super chat. We have a super chat coming in here from Grayley Art. When does no tax on overtime start? I don't know. I am anxious to find out when. Let's check in with the main chat real quick here and see what everybody is saying. We have a thumbs up, Scott Edwards. I'm sure I'm on a few lists. Says sure you. Smoochy saying, hey, Heather. Duty to rebels on the red list, he says. I didn't think we'd hear from Harris anymore. Well, we had to play that clip, though. We got to do a flashback. Tulsi Gabbard rocks. Her priorities are in the right order. She's an honorable woman. I am so happy she's on our side. Lots of thumbs up in the chat room. My neighbor on the end just watches me hang my clothes. I'm country in the city. I need a higher fence. Sabrina, what? Aaron Wagner. The Democrats lost when they opted to back Kamala as opposed to Tulsi, who is by far the better candidate. Velvet and Lace is back, gifting 5 Next News Network memberships. Thank you for that. That is beautiful on this early raw feed show. Desert Dog, Midnight Spirit, Lawyer 2, Custom for Life, and Tinkerbell, all receiving a free gift from Velvet and Lace. Welcome to the membership club. Okay, we got some more news to get to. Remember, later tonight we will have another live stream. I'm going to do my best, keep all my batteries charged. And we're going to be streaming from the Drake Oakbrook tonight. So buckle up for that. Let's see. Let's see, T5. T5 part 2. T5 part 2. Where's T5? Ah, here it is. T5 part 2. Oh, here it is. Okay, my bad. Okay. Wait. Meta. What? T-part? Oh. Okay. 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 What happens when you stand up to big tech? Well, if you're Donald Trump, they write you a check for $25 million. That's right, Meta, the company that tried to silence a sitting president, just admitted defeat in the most expensive way possible. But there's another story that nobody is talking about. While Donald Trump forces Zuckerberg to bend the knee, RFK Jr. is fighting a different battle, one that Rand Paul unleashed holy hell on the Senate floor. The same people who pardoned Fauci are now accusing JFK Jr. of corruption. That's right, you can't make this stuff up. And just as Trump and RFK Jr. are fighting the system, Americans everywhere are fighting rising energy costs. The establishment wants you dependent on their narratives, their platforms, and their power grid. But here's what they don't want you to know. This revolutionary portable heater is helping patriots slash their heating bills by up to 60%. It's about independence from big tech, big pharma, and big energy. While Trump takes on Meta and RFK fights the establishment, you can take control of your energy costs. Visit staywarmnow.com. It's linked below because freedom starts at home. Okay, let's start with RFK. This was absolutely horrendous, what I witnessed. JFK's grandson, Jack Schlossberg, posted a video mocking RFK Jr.'s spasmodic dysphonia, a disabling neurological disorder. This is RFK Jr. being attacked by his own family. Watch this.
Everybody, I'm trying to figure out the right present to get Donald Trump for the inauguration, so I found a really rare animal and killed it, and I'm going to give it to him. Everybody.
How disgusting is that? That is JFK's grandson. Here we have another one, a leftist TikToker mocking RFK Jr.'s condition. This is the tolerant left, everyone.
I'm Robert F. Kennedy. I am an anti-vaxxer, and I didn't kill 83 Samoans because I didn't want them to get the measles vaccine.
Oh my goodness. How disgusting and disgraceful are these people? We got this too. Some more disgrace. This from the mainstream media. Legacy media is the enemy of the people. MJ Truth Ultra reporting that reporters have already pre-written negative headlines for RFK Jr. before the confirmation hearing even began. You can see the video. Someone's shot. Zooming in on this reporter. Here's a screenshot of the headline. RFK Jr. faces grilling. Comments and animal stuff at confirmation hearing. Trump live updates. So they're all ready. Like, it didn't even begin yet. And they are making up headlines. Hodge Twin says Bernie Sanders' biggest sellout. Dude ran for president acting like he was a little guy, all while he was getting paid off by big pharma companies. A total clown. Here's DC General. He reported that RFK calling out Bernie Sanders for taking the single highest amount of big pharma campaign contributions in the entire Senate. And see, they want to say that RFK Jr. is somehow corrupt and he's going to take big pharma money. Well, let's watch this dismantling.
I'm going to make America healthier than other countries in the world right now.
Will you guarantee do what every other major country does? It's a simple question.
And by the way, Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry. And protecting their interests.
Oh, I thought that would come. No. I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
because I had
receiver of pharmaceutical money.
Contributions from workers all over this country. Workers,
you were the
not a nickel from corporate tax.
You were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right, but You have not answered. Last question.
Yeah, you just got burned, Bernie. Feel the burn. Here's somebody, a victim of some of those mandates. Sad. A sad outcome for this family. Here we have Rand Paul just ate another senator's lunch in real time while defending RFK Jr. David Marcus, GOP owns RFK Jr. big time and the debt is due. Okay. RFK Jr. now expressing his views on childhood gender-affirming care. He cites the UK's Cass review, which cautioned such treatment, and added that those struggling should be respected and loved, but sometimes love meaning saying no.
We don't let children drink. We don't let them drive an automobile because they have bad judgment. They are flooded with hormones. Their brains are still in formation. Their sexuality is still in formation. To allow them to make judgments about that are going to have life-changing, forever implications for the rest of their life at that age is unconscionable, particularly in light of the Cass report.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Let me ask you a question about NIH research, if I may. I know this is something that you care a lot about. Under the first Trump presidency...
And I do want to add that people who have gender differences should be respected. They should be loved. But loving them does not sometimes love means saying no to people.
Amen. We need this man. Here is somebody, Jane de facto as a mom, I can absolutely verify, do not mess with the mother bear and her cubs. Can these moms get RFK Jr. confirmed? MAGA moms are on the march. Let's see, Alex Morrow, he says the party that pardoned Fauci and funded the Wuhan lab accuses RFK Jr. of corruption. This is over at Breitbart. Here we have Janine Pirro. She says she's disgusted that in 2025 we're so divided in America that we can't have a reasonable conversation while being healthy.
America healthy. This goes beyond politics. This is about our humanity. He put party aside to join Donald Trump because he believed that Donald Trump was the best shot at making America healthy again. And everybody knows, historians know, that if you're looking for reform, you need a radical. And RFK is a radical. I worked with him when he had the environmental program and I was the DA in Westchester. He had a great program. I started an environmental crimes unit as a result of working with him. And he said I was the only Republican that ever worked with him, which I found was shocking. But the truth is, I am so disgusted that in 2025, we are so divided in America that we can't have a reasonable conversation about being healthy and being fit. Why all of a sudden is this guy subjected to all kinds of craziness? And, you know, he went into the lion's den. He didn't care. He's willing to go into the lion's den to take the attacks. I saw assaults today by a guy. They talked over him. They yelled at him. They interrupted him. And he has a problem with his voice, so he couldn't really come back at them. And they took advantage of that.
That wasn't fair.
But the truth is, these senators are bought and paid for by the lobbyists, by big by the big ag, the pharmaceutical companies. You look at them, Wyden in particular. How much money does he get from the pharmaceutical companies? Okay, this is a guy who is going against the grain. This is a guy who's saying, you know what? I'm concerned about the fact that we've got 60% higher Medicaid costs than we had 4 years ago. No other country's got that. 40% of American adults are obese. 20% of American children are obese. Why has the United States not eliminated carcinogens or cancer-causing ingredients that Europe is eliminating from candy and, as Jesse said, from cereal? You know, the bottom line is RFK is exactly who we need.
Amen. Amen. We need him big time. Here is Rand Paul going off on. Rand Paul just went off at RFK Jr.'s hearing.
Home. So we talk about hepatitis B. It's a terrible disease. It could lead to liver failure, as the chairman said. But the reason you have distrust from people at home, why they don't believe anything you say, they don't believe government at all, is you're telling my kid to take a hepatitis B vaccine when he's 1 day old. You get it through drug use and sexually transmitted. That's how you get hepatitis B. But you're telling me my kid has to take it at 1 day old. That's not science. And so every person with a bit of common sense, even people who don't resist vaccines, I vaccinated all my kids. I believe vaccines are one of the modern miracles beyond all pale. The Speckled Monster is a great book about the introduction of the smallpox vaccine in 1720 into our country. All miracles. But I'm not a one-size-fits-all. It's not all or nothing. I chose to wait on my hepatitis B vaccine, and we did it when they went to school. Does that make me an awful person? Does that make me an anti-vaxxer because I questioned the government dictate of whether I do it? And I'm not speaking for anybody else. I'm only speaking for myself. But for goodness sakes, let's have an honest debate about these things. The COVID vaccine. If you ask me my opinion, the reporters run up and down the hall and they say, you still anti-vaccine? No, I'm pro-vaccine. But on the COVID vaccine and on the COVID illness, there was a 1,000-fold or more difference between the elderly and children. If you don't acknowledge that, you're committing malpractice. You're showing your ignorance. If you say a 6-month-old must be mandated to get it, the science is not there. So all this blather about the science says this and the science says that, no, it doesn't. The science actually shows that no healthy child in America died from COVID. Look it up. No healthy child died from COVID. And so the thing is that it's 1,000-fold greater. So if you ask me my advice as a physician, if you were 65 or older or overweight and some other conditions, I would have said, hell yes, I'd take the COVID vaccine. The risks of the disease were real and much greater than the vaccine. But if you ask me, should my healthy 6-month-old get it? See, these are the nuances you're unwilling to talk about because there's such a belief in submission. Submit to the government. Do what you're told. There is no discussion. There ought to be a debate.
There ought to be a debate. RFK Jr. on the Hill right now. Here's a Babylon Bee headline. I love the Babylon Bee. Senators pause RFK hearing to announce the next round of questions is brought to you by Pfizer. Oh, yeah. We've got more on this. Let's continue with the RFK part 2. Okay, this is the stuff about President Trump, Meta, being forced to pay President Trump $25 million to resolve the lawsuit because they suspended his account. Meta to pay $25 million. Thank God. Here's Caroline Leavitt making the mainstream media mincemeat.
But is there any concern that we risk losing people with years of experience like doctors and let's say scientists?
Well, most doctors who work in actual hospitals and medical institutions have to show up to the office. We know that employees are more productive and more efficient when they are working in an in-office environment, and that's what this administration expects, and I think that's what American taxpayers expect. Don't forget, it's the American people who are funding this government, and they deserve people who are actually showing up to work on their behalf.
We got some Elon Musk news. The SpainSat NG-1 has been confirmed. Falcon 9 launching. This was just 16 hours ago. Charlie Kirk news. Give me a thumbs up if you want all 3 of them confirmed. No delays, no excuses. RFK Jr., Kash Patel, and Tulsi Gabbard. Here's J.D. Vance, part of Trump's posse. There's a Christian concept that you love your family and then you love your neighbor.
Country, but there's this old school, and I think it's a very Christian concept, by the way, that you love your family and then you love your neighbor and then you love your community and then you love your fellow citizens in your own country, and then after that you can focus and prioritize the rest of the world. A lot of the far left has completely inverted that. They seem to hate the citizens of their own country and care more about people outside their own borders. That is no way to run a society. And I think the profound difference that Donald Trump brings to the leadership of this country is the simple concept, America first. It doesn't mean you hate anybody else. It means that you have leadership, and President Trump has been very clear about this, that puts the interests of American citizens first. In the same way that the British Prime Minister should care about Brits and the French should care about the French, we have an American president who cares primarily about Americans, and that's a very welcome change.
What is President Xi doing? What is Vladimir Putin?
Amen. Finally, we have adults in the room. And speaking of adults, we got Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth talking about one of the dumbest phrases in military history.
What's happening with DEI? How's that going at the Defense Department? Well, DEI is not going well at the Defense Department because it's dead. We will, as the president said in his inaugural, we will be merit-based and colorblind, and that is the case at the Defense Department. DEI is going to be ripped out root and branch because we want everyone treated equally with high standards and held accountable with warfighting, lethality, and readiness front and center. We don't have time for emphasizing differences. Jesse, one of the dumbest phrases in military history is our diversity is our strength. Our diversity is not our strength. Our unity and our shared purpose is our strength. And the Pentagon is excited to get back to that core mission. It's happening rapidly. The services are responding, and those that don't want to respond can work somewhere else. So diversity, equity, inclusion will not be a part of the Defense Department.
Bye-bye. That is long gone. We have this. Elon Musk saying he's going to be suing creepy Tim Walz after the Nazi salute comment. Defamation, Amuse says. Elon Musk said today he will be suing disgraced Tim Walz after he falsely claimed that the billionaire did a Nazi salute. Reportedly, his mother encouraged him to sue the creepy Democrat. Here's Will Kane. How did, talking to Pete Hegseth, the new DOD secretary, asking him, how did that moment feel to be confirmed? Listen.
This doesn't count.
And guess what? The force is responding because that's what they want. They want to be warfighters.
Okay, I told you just a moment ago, this doesn't count. This little interview we just did for 10 minutes together, I'm super honored that I'm your first interview as Secretary of Defense, but this doesn't count. We're going to have a sit down together. We're going to figure it out. But I'm going to ask you one of my questions right now. I watched you on Saturday. Right. I watched your wife, Jen. I watched all of those kids, and you gave a hug to them right after you were confirmed. I wish I could have been there. I would have asked you that day, man, how do you feel? How did that moment feel to be confirmed, hug your family, kiss your wife as Secretary of Defense?
Well, thank you for the question, Will. What an honor. And I said it then, and I'll say it today. All glory to God. His will be done in this process. I couldn't have done it without my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and without my wife. You know her, Will, who she is, how strong she is. Jenny has been behind my side this entire time, and what an absolute humbling honor to have a chance to represent the fighting men and women of this country. So it was a sigh of relief that one process was over, Will. Hug my family and say, we're in this together. And I know you wanted to be there, brother. So you will get that interview. I will salute as a sign that that's going to happen. And I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you so much. I knew you had to get straight to work. And we appreciate the work that you're doing for America. Your new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Thanks.
Amen. And new sheriffs in town. J.D. Vance writing a day ago in their own way, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. represent the best parts of the new coalition in our party. To say they're unwelcome in the cabinet is to insult those new voters. To reject their confirmation is to reject the idea that President Trump decides the cabinet. Today is the day. Let's get Tulsi and Cash and RFK Jr. confirmed. So we've got Meta's $25 million surrender. It's not just about money. It's an admission of guilt. They interfered with the most powerful office in the world, and now they're paying the price. Meanwhile, RFK Jr. faces the same machine that tried to destroy his father's legacy. The parallels are impossible to ignore. One man forces big tech to acknowledge their overreach, while another exposes the corruption that his own party tries to hide. But here's what everybody should be asking. If Meta was willing to silence a sitting president of the United States, and if the establishment was willing to attack a Kennedy for speaking truth to power, what else are they willing to do to maintain their control over what you think, say, and believe? Comment below. And stand against censorship with our bold tech warrior Mag Avenger gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Okay, let's check in with the chat real quick. Let's see. Pete gonna do great. I know it says duty to rebel. Alaskan was the MF that the door opened up. Let's see. Thanks for the follow, DC775. I'm rolling in through the hobby. It's fast, and my mom just up the street. Okay. Alaskan Airlines, look up what happened in the last month. Brains, sure you. Yeah, I can't stand long flights either, man. Jeremy Olson, welcome back. Common sense in our government. Yeah, baby. Let's check in real quick with what's going on. The latest in the news feeds. This is 6 seconds ago.
Tariffs. Will oil be included or excluded from those tariffs?
So we'll be announcing the tariffs on Canada and Mexico for a number of reasons. Number one is the people that have poured into our country so horribly and so much. Number two are the drugs, fentanyl, and everything else that have come into the country. And number three are the massive subsidies that we're giving to Canada and to Mexico in the form of deficits. And I'll be putting the tariff of 25% on Canada and separately 25% on Mexico. And we will really have to do that because we have very big deficits with those countries. Those tariffs may or may not rise with time.
Will oil be part of that? No, because we get oil from Canada.
Oil is going to have nothing to do with it as far as I'm concerned. Oil has nothing to do with it.
Mr. President,
oil has
nothing
to do
under
with
Canada
it.
and Mexico tariffs. Will oil be included or excluded from those tariffs?
So we'll be announcing the tariffs on Canada and Mexico for a number of reasons. Number one is the people that are.
All right, we're going to get more of that tomorrow. What is this? 1 minute ago, he's got a good line of BS.
Department of Transportation, the FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg. A real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good line of bullshit.
Oh, baby. Oh, yeah. That's solid gold right there. Donald Trump not holding back. Okay, folks, I need to get ready to head out to the live stream. That's going to be in a couple hours. 7 o'clock tonight is when it's scheduled to start. So we'll see you there. It's going to be a live presentation from Rod Blagojevich. We've already got it on the channel. I think you should be able to see it, the scheduled live stream that's upcoming. You can read the description about all the details for that event this evening, so I hope that you will join us and support that effort. It's going to be a really interesting conversation with those folks. So that's our show, and what a show it has been. We began with a story that shook the nation, a tragic mid-air collision in our capital that claimed 67 innocent lives, including members of the U.S. figure skating team. And the questions surrounding the military helicopter, its mission, and why it was flying dark in restricted airspace, those answers are still coming, and you can bet we'll stay on it. Meanwhile, President Trump's immigration crackdown is sending shockwaves through sanctuary cities across America. The speed and efficiency of these deportations expose years of deliberate inaction. When they tell you it can't be done, remember, they're lying. It is already being done. Then there's Kash Patel, the deep state's worst nightmare, facing down the establishment in his FBI confirmation hearing. Over 50 former FBI agents are demanding his confirmation. And why? Because they know what we know. The Bureau needs a complete overhaul, and Kash is the man to do it. And speaking of overhauls, Tulsi Gabbard's DNI confirmation hearing exposed something truly chilling: how our intelligence agencies maintain secret lists of American citizens who dare to criticize the wrong people. If they'll do it to a member of Congress, imagine what they're already doing to you. And finally, Meta's $25 million surrender to Trump while RFK Jr. continues his fight against the very establishment that tried to silence them both. Well, the truth has a way of coming out, doesn't it? So to everyone who sent in Super Chats and Rumble Rants, we see you, we hear you, and we are grateful for your support. Your messages keep the show going, and they remind us why we do what we do. But here's the reality. We can't keep bringing you these stories without your help. The powers that be would love nothing more than to shut us down. Don't let them. Head to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com right now and grab some exclusive Next News gear. Show the world where you stand in this fight for truth. And if you can, please consider making a donation. The links are in the description. Every dollar helps us continue this mission. Continue bringing you the stories they don't want you to hear. Remember, share the stream with everyone you know. Text it, email it, get it out there. The algorithm can't stop direct sharing because that's how we win. This is the Raw Feed. We'll see you next time. And remember, the truth isn't just out there. It's right here. We'll see you next time.